You are listening to the Enlightenment Evolution Network. Welcome to Earth Sky People Radio. Living in harmony with Mother Earth and awakening to an intergalactic society. With your host, Victoria Vives, founder of Reiki Wellbeing and co-founder of the Earth Sky People Movement. Any opinions expressed in Earth Sky People Radio do not necessarily reflect the opinions of the Enlightenment Evolution Network. Any opinions expressed by Earth Sky People Radio's guests do not necessarily reflect the opinions of Earth Sky People Radio. Hello, this is Earth Sky People Radio with your host, your friend, and your soul family, Victoria Vives Khuong. You can find me at victoriavives.com. Today is Saturday, April 25th, 2015. We are together in Earth Sky People Radio. Earth representing our connection with Mother Earth and nature, and Sky representing spirituality and life beyond the Earth, extraterrestrial life, extra-dimensional. Last week, we had a beautiful, beautiful show with Ashana, with her celestial healing music. You can check out the video and audio replay in the archives at victoriavives.com/radio. And today, we have with us Doug Simons. At 11-year-old, Doug Simons began learning about the native plants of Colorado from his mother. His awareness, knowledge, and connection to the plant world has only grown stronger through his life and travels across the American continent. His learning and practicing of medicine has taken place in the Western United States, Mexico, Central and South America. Through these travels, he has learned from many, many indigenous cultures, some of which include the Tarahumara and the Navajo. His website is chanska.com, and that is CHANCHKA.com. So now let's welcome Doug Simons. Hello, Doug. How are you today?
I'm very good, Victoria. It's wonderful to be here with you.
Thank you so much for being here with us today, and welcome to Earth Sky People Radio. And for those who are listening, if you have any questions, remember that you can call 347-308-8788. And then just press number 1 so that we know that you have a question. Okay, so Doug, as you know, we know each other. And today I was drinking some of the Mormon tea that you gave me, remember?
Oh, yeah. One of my favorite plants for helping us maintain our equilibriums, and yeah, I love that plant. How's it treating you?
Oh, really good. Yes, I sometimes combine it, but I really feel the cleansing effect, so I really like it. So thank you for that.
Yeah, that's a medicine that I drink almost every day. It's renowned for its a daily tea, something that people can drink every day and receive the benefits, not something that we reserve for only special imbalances. Yeah.
Wow. Good to know. So one of the things that I really like about you is your approach in regards to tooth care. And I would love for you to share with our audience. I know that you have DVD about this also, so if you could share with us all that you think is important for us to know about herbal tooth care, that would be wonderful.
Okay. Well, as most people are somewhat aware, in alternative medicine or holistic medicine, there actually isn't that much material available or information available about tooth care, and yet we we actually know quite a bit. And the foundations of tooth care begin with a really, really simple concept, and that is that the teeth are alive. And being alive, that means that they have a system for maintaining their integrity and for healing themselves when they get out of balance. And most of us, having grown up in the Western society here, we've kind of forgot that our teeth were alive. If something happens to them, they need glue. They're like a rock. They need glue and a grinder. Wow. But if we stop and think about it, there's no part of our body that isn't alive, and hence has these systems for maintaining integrity and returning to balance when there is imbalance. So the beginning of any care for our body is to realize that the best medicine is good food, and nutrition is everything, always, and we'll never achieve great health with poor nutrition. And it can be a little bit tricky knowing what good nutrition is, because there's so much information in the world that sorting it out can be a little tricky, but not that hard. Whole foods are the thing that really offer it. So that will be a foundation no matter what. But with the understanding that the teeth are alive, over the last probably more than 25 years, I've come up with a system for maintaining the integrity of our teeth and returning them to balance from imbalance. And that means everything from small cavities and cracks to large cavities to abscesses to understanding wisdom teeth, how to maintain great gum health, how to help the teeth when there's orthodontic problems, and understanding root canals. So the foundation to understanding some of this is that we can take care of our teeth from the viewpoint that they're alive. So if you were to cut your hand, for example, you know many, many ways to treat that cut and keep it from getting infected, stop the bleeding, and help it heal. It's the same thing with the teeth. They have their systems, and if we understand how that works, then we just support those systems, and that's always what holistic medicine is. It's supporting what the body already does. So I have a DVD, as you mentioned, that elucidates all of these things, and it'll guide you through the entire process of being able to observe and maintain the quality of your teeth through the use of horsetail and tooth powder as main foundational herbs for maintaining health, and then an entire understanding of how to heal cavities, cracks, larger cavities, abscesses, and all the rest of the things I mentioned. And all of them, it's very simple and elegant. I learned a long time ago that if you have a complex and difficult thing to understand, you haven't really gotten to the essence.
So, for example, for somebody that right now is thinking, I need to go to the dentist, which we know what happens when you go to the dentist. Your teeth are going to become smaller, most likely, which is not a good thing, because once we miss a part of our teeth, we cannot recover it. So what would you recommend right now, somebody that has a cavity and doesn't know what to do? What is the first step they should take?
Well, all of this care of our teeth is always layered. One thing, we begin one place, and then a next step, and a next step, and a next step. So initially, the person needs to, and all of this, of course, is clearly elucidated in the DVD in detail, right. But the person begins by learning how to observe their teeth so that they can see changes, which is very, very important, because all decay starts with the tiniest little spot. You see it early, then you're able to take action, and it's much quicker to heal something that's small. So we begin with taking care of our teeth in that way. Then if, for example, we have started with the situation that you're suggesting, an already existing cavity, we begin immediately by taking care of all the rest of the teeth. Because if you have a weakness in one tooth, you may have, it's likely that you have a weakness in all of your teeth at the moment. Because remember that the teeth are living and they change. They're a very quick source of calcium for the body, because calcium is a very, very important substance in the body. The heartbeat, temperature, many things that can't be altered. The consequences of those being different than they need to be is huge. So the body has many systems for maintaining calcium level in the blood, and that the differing calcium levels can be caused by a stomach flu or bad nutrition or a number of minor or major things, but the body will not allow the heartbeat or temperature or any of these very, very important things to get out of whack. So the body has ways of extracting calcium. A quick place to get it is the teeth. So we've all sensed our teeth being both strong and weak. At some point in your life, your teeth are sensitive to hot and cold. Perhaps you don't even really feel like you want to bite into a carrot. You feel like your teeth are too weak. And other times we feel like we could bite a rock in half. That's demonstrating the changing nature of the teeth. And what we want to do is maintain the stronger side. So we have to know how to do that. And initially that means learning how to observe the teeth and then give them the nutrition that they need to maintain integrity, which of course they get from high-quality food. But we enhance that with the use of certain plants, and most especially horsetail, which is a medicine that influences the bones and the teeth, other parts of the body as well, basically everything that the kidneys rule: teeth, hair, bones, nails, lower back, knees, and the emotion of fear. So horsetail is an herb that influences the kidneys in all of those places that I just mentioned, but is very, very specific for maintaining the quality of the bones and the teeth. The teeth, their structure is basically the jawbone, then the tendons that hold the teeth in place, the matrix of a tooth, which is similar in material to a bone, but much different in structure. Each tooth is made out of miles of tiny, tiny tube, all interconnected. And then the enamel surface. All of these things have to be maintained for them to have strong integrity. And when our diet and different parts of our lifestyle ebb and flow, that's when we have weakness and strength of our teeth. Some people have continuously weak teeth due to, mostly due to nutritional deficiencies. Horsetail being an herb that really helps turn this around. And we use it as what we call a food medicine, something that is used to bring us back from an imbalanced state, but also, most importantly, to help us maintain a state of good health. And it's very important, and this, again, will be elucidated in that DVD, that one gets the correct kind of horsetail. And that, for anybody who's taking notes, is Equisetum hyemale. And it is very difficult to find in commerce, though it's a very common plant. You can purchase it from me or grow it yourself, which we really encourage, and perhaps harvest it yourself from following the guidelines shown in that DVD. So if someone were to have a cavity, as you mentioned, they would immediately start watching their other teeth, cleaning them with a stick, and that's something that I show very clearly in that DVD. And the cleaning it with a stick does two things. It really cleans the teeth well, but it also offers them pressure. And pressure is what stimulates teeth. It invigorates them. Pressure is very important. We don't necessarily eat foods as commonly as our hard, crunchy foods that our teeth need for that pressure and stimulation. So we start offering them the stimulation. Then we begin to clean that area where the cavity is very carefully and thoroughly, depending on how big or small the cavity is, using wood, hard, dry wood. Metal is not recommended, and the wood has an ability to absorb, and the pressure on the teeth is very important. We're consuming horsetail to bring back the silica and calcium to the tooth, so the strength of the enamel returns. And then, depending on the size of the cavity, then we'll also be packing herbs in there to help change the decay, which is a bacterial experience, so that the final healing will be that the enamel grows back over the area that has been damaged. So we're strengthening the teeth, changing the decay, and allowing the enamel to regrow. So if it's a tiny, almost invisible cavity, you'll never know it was there. If it's a large cavity, the shape of the hole will remain, yet it will be covered again with a hard coating of enamel, and the tooth will now be stabilized. Obviously, we prefer to heal teeth early on so that they don't get big holes, but this system works very, very well, and a person can have a different shaped tooth, but still very strong and stable. And I guess one of the things that's very important to recognize is that in dentistry, their concepts, and dentistry is not something that I want to malign or say is wrong or bad, because people get to make the choices that they want and use the medicine that they prefer. And actually using this medicine that I'm speaking about, it's not an either-or thing. Somebody could do both, go to the dentist and use these methods if that's what their choice, if they prefer that. But in dentistry, they don't share the view that the teeth are alive. And so whenever they see a problem, their approach is to grind it out larger to remove any decay and prepare it, the shape perhaps, to be the best to receive a patch, a filling. And each time that happens, more of the tooth is lost, which we want to avoid, obviously.
Right.
And fillings do not stay in forever. They often fall out early or within a few years. Sometimes they last even 30 years, but that's unusual. Most fillings last probably an average of 7 or 8 years. And then that means grinding the tooth again, and the more times that happens, then we're headed for other dental experiences like crowns and root canals, and those are pretty invasive, and root canals have a lot of questions around them, which I explain really well in that DVD. And I encourage anybody who's faced with the choice of getting a root canal, I really encourage them to educate themselves well before making that decision. So the healing of what we described there, of that cavity, will be that the enamel has grown back over the disturbed area once we've strengthened the tooth and removed the decay. And that's a lifetime experience. And, of course, if we get ourselves into poor quality nutrition or not using things like horsetail anymore, we could create, that problem could come back, or a new hole could occur. So what we're hoping to achieve is a nice, strong, balanced mouth full of teeth. and that's done through a series, again, one step after the next. But mostly to maintain the quality of the tooth requires using the horsetail and cleaning the teeth carefully, examining them, and being prepared to take action if something changes. I think something that we want to really recognize about some of these plants that are in perhaps a tooth powder. There are many tooth powders, and I'll teach you how to make one on that DVD. You can also buy the one that I make. And the horsetail, I think something that's very important to remember about these plants is that we get the most benefit from them if we recognize them for who they are, which are living people, medicine people.
Exactly.
And if we change them to only substance, then we're less likely to understand them well and less likely to be able to make ourselves available to their amazing medicine. So there you have a little bit of an understanding of tooth care. And if you wish, I can go into more detail on certain things like root canals or whatever you might want to hear about right now.
I feel that's really good. I feel that those points are very important, and I have to say, the first time I saw my husband with a stick cleaning his teeth, I was like, what is he doing? Oh, my goodness. But now I prepare my own sticks to clean my teeth, and I never had an experience of having my teeth more clean. It's amazing. So I really recommend it. It sounds weird in the beginning, but I think we are disconnected from nature. So things that for our ancestors were so normal, now we are so used to go to the store and buy a toothbrush that is made of plastic that we don't realize that in the past they didn't have that. So I really encourage people to explore these ideas, because I feel that always the balance between all the advancements and technology that we have, but always honoring our ancestors and the wisdom that was so much present in the past, I would really, really recommend that. So thank you for sharing that, Doug.
And often there can be improvements as time goes by and in modern technology, but sometimes things are missed, and I think a lot has been missed in caretaking our teeth, all the way from the use of toothbrushes, which I still use with tooth powder, but I also clean my teeth all the time with sticks, and I cleaned them exclusively for 20 years with the sticks, and they really respond. They love that pressure. They need that stimulation.
So one other thing, now that you mentioned 20 years that you were cleaning your teeth just with sticks, that reminds me of your experience living off the grid. And I would love for you to share about this, because I know people that have lived in the wild or off the grid, but most likely they were hunting for meat, to eat meat. But you were vegetarian, right? And you were still able to live off the grid with the plants that you found in your environment.
Yes, and so I guess my story is kind of interesting, where I didn't really plan to have a given amount of time that I lived out in the wild, but it just happened. And 20 years is a long, long time. And through through that time, I was guided and following my passions. And some of my passions were to learn to eat only wild foods, which is, not a small undertaking to understand to understand the plants in a way that we can be nourished by them, especially if coming from a modern culture that lives on agriculture. So during this time that I began this process, it takes a long time, and many of the experiences are dealing with my own perspectives, so that I can gain new perspectives that allow me to do what I wanted to do. And living on wild plants is not something one learns how to do in an afternoon or a week. It takes a long, long time. Most people don't even like the taste of the wild plants in the beginning. And occasionally somebody will come to me and say, Doug, I've got a Sunday afternoon and I really need to know how to live in the wild on wild plants. You know, it's part of my survival skills. And it's humorous because it's not possible. I encourage people who are interested in wild plants to enjoy the process, or interested in eating wild plants, to really enjoy the process and mix them with the foods that they're familiar with to gain an ability to understand their flavors and their properties. Wild plants give us nutrition that's not available anywhere else. It's amazing the things that they can give us. And including some of them in our diets is very, very beneficial. And start with the easy things, the things that are most common, things like wild greens, lamb's quarters, and yellow dock, purslane, famous plants that grow almost everywhere. And in every state, there are some around, and if one is aware of them, and first off, we have to be clear that identification is everything. If you don't know how to identify a plant, and you're not really sure what it is, nobody is going to go ahead and harvest and eat them, or at least nobody should. We really need to know clearly that we're identifying and picking the right plant. And then slowly you learn how to use them. Try some of these edible plant books and learn a bit about them. The plants, to become really familiar with a wild plant in order to eat it, imagine something like your knowledge of a head of broccoli. You know all kinds of things about it. You're very, very comfortable with that head of broccoli. You know that it's absolutely edible raw. You know what parts you like better raw. You know the stem is more crunchy and often even a little bit more tough than the heads. You know what it smells like when it's past its prime, and you know how to cook it. You know that if you overcook it, it might not be as delicious as if you cook it correctly. And you know 20 different recipes. And if somebody hands you a head of broccoli, you don't wonder what to do with it. You immediately have many, many confident ideas. Well, to eat a wild plant really confidently takes the time to learn it in that way. Most of these wild plants that I've eaten them, for 20 years. And much of that time, the beginning number of years, I was learning how. And then I spent many years eating only wild plants. So, that's a long process, and maybe not something that most people are even interested in doing. Yet to bring these wild plants into your diet is a very worthwhile endeavor. And again, I would stress that identification will give you confidence. Don't go and gather plants you don't know what they are or not sure. And I encourage people to learn some of the poisonous plants first or at the same time. There aren't that many really deadly poisonous plants, so learn them very, very clearly so you don't mistake them. You don't look at a poison hemlock and go, I wonder if that's Queen Anne's lace, or I wonder if that's Osha. You look at it and you go, that's my friend poison hemlock. They're not malevolent beings. They only carry energies and substance that's not beneficial for us to eat. We should treat them with great reverence, just like we do the plants we love to eat. And be really great with your identification. Take the time to learn it well. And then begin to eat some of the plants in small amounts and read about preparation and try different styles until you gain an ability to eat them well. These renowned, delicious, edible plants, give them a second, third, fourth, fifth chance. They're renowned for a reason, and I think people will really enjoy including them in their lives. And the wild greens are a great place to start. Dandelion is another wild green that is really abundant. Just have to watch out for things like herbicides and pesticides, things like that. Those are very, very important to be careful of. The exhaust too close to a road, things like that. We want to be careful. And again, we've kind of had a discussion so far about the substance side of the plants, but it's very, very important to remember that if we're working with these plant people, to honor them as plant people, and speaking to realize that these are again living people, as mysterious and powerful as we ourselves, maybe, and in different ways. The plant people, they inhabit other realms than here. That's why they can bring us so much medicine. That's where their power comes from. And I encourage people to remember that everything here is alive. All of the clouds, all the blue sky, all of the dust, all the dirt, all the rocks, every single plant, everyone here is alive. And if we treat them with an understanding of that, and remember, that's a mystery. We can't take that apart with our cognizant mind and figure that out. What does alive mean? Why does someone live and why does someone die? What is dead and what is alive? We're not meant to understand that in a way that we could understand the molecular structure of something. That's a mystery. And if you want comfort, you live within the mystery. You don't try to solve it. So the plant people, and everything that I share with you about communicating with the plant people is the same for a stone or the blue sky or a hawk flying over. We can all speak to them, and it's very, very important to understand that we do have the ability to speak with our other relatives, and we just come from a culture that has not reminded us of that or taught us how. And because it's part of who we are, of course it's very, very simple. And it starts out with recognizing that you are born with the ability to speak with these other relatives and hear them. And then all you have to do is make the effort. So for me to communicate with you, Victoria, means that I have to talk to you. And if I don't talk to you, then I won't have a communication. And it's the same with these other beings, these other relatives. So if you're gathering plants, be sure to talk to them and offer them, ask for their permission and ask for them to guide you in your collection. And remember to think about how you gather. We have a foundation for gathering plants, and it is that the plant's well-being comes first. If we choose to use our mind to help us put that into action, we're not going to have any more extinct plants from over-harvesting or rare plants. Don't use rare plants. Honor them. Maybe put a representation of them on your altar so that we don't forget them, and encourage them in any way we can to grow, physically. But don't use rare plants. Use the plants that are abundant, and be sure that you learn as much as you can about their abundance. Read books. Watch them. Verify what you see with what you hear. And continuously remember, there's never been anything that we couldn't over-harvest and make go away, at least from our seen world. There were a lot of buffalo, and we were able to make them gone. We need to remember that it's our responsibility to treat them well. I think something that might help put this in perspective is to realize that everybody is a collector of plants. If you're alive as a human being, you collect plants. It's the way it is. Every bit of our clothing, our buildings, the air we breathe, all of our food are gifts from the plant people. And if we don't consume them, we don't live. And that right there shows us that, yes, we are collectors of plants. We don't need to feel guilty about it. We don't need to feel like it's wrong. We just have to do it well. And we live in this moment of history that very, very brief moment of history where someone else is collecting all our plants. So it allows us to forget that we are collectors of plants.
Very true.
And so if we have these basic foundations, yes, we do collect plants. No way to get around that, and we shouldn't want to. It's how the plants share with us, or one of the many ways. And that the plant's well-being comes first. Now we have an ability to collect plants. That means that we become their advocate. We care. We plant trees. We encourage regulations that are conservative of these beautiful resources, so to speak, these words, but they're plant people. And with these kind of ideas, and there's many, some are correct, some are better, some are worse, but it's up to us as individuals to enjoy the process of having good relations. And that's what we're here to do. We're here to learn to be good relatives and to be good relatives. So using the wild plants is something that we can do, and there's a lot of us out there. We must do it well. And some of them are very, very generous, things like lamb's quarters and purslane. They come with the rain, and they grow and grow and grow, and wild amaranth. These are very, very powerful food medicines, and I encourage everybody to gain a relationship with a few of them and start using them in your salads as cooked greens, things like that.
Absolutely. I really, really recommend it. I grew up in a city in Spain, and I had no connection with many things. Thank God my grandmother had some plants, so I had a little bit of relationship. I always loved it, but then growing up always with, asphalt instead grass or instead plants. So now that I moved to Los Angeles and I met my husband and he started doing all this primitive stuff, now I know all the plants in my environment. So, for example, I go to my backyard and I can recognize the plants that are wild, and instead to kill them, I say, no, these are my friends, and I can talk with them, and it's like I'm not feeling alone anymore. I know that I'm always with them. They're always there. They have beautiful qualities that they can provide to us, and I just wish that we can really spread this knowledge because it really can change life. So I'm so happy that you are sharing all of this with my audience today, because I feel that it's very encouraging, and people may start doing that transformation if they haven't already.
Yeah, absolutely. And the way that I look at this experience that we're sharing here is that we actually need some practical ideas and teaching, and the foundation begins that our relationship with the unseen, our deliberate relationship, if we desire a relationship with the unseen world, then we have to do something in the seen to make that happen. And so in order to have a relationship other than substance with these other relatives, we need to communicate with them. And most of us never had the basic teachings on how that's done. Here's a great example of plant communication, of a plant speaking to an individual. If you're somewhere walking and you see a very, very beautiful flower and you're drawn to it and you takes your breath away and you go to look at it, that's a very strong example of plant communication. That plant is calling you, asking you to come, and has something for you. So if you're aware of that, you can now speak to the plant, and you can tell them, thank you very much for calling me here. You're beautiful, and I'm attracted to you. What is it that you have for me? Or do you have something for me? And ask the unseen, this plant person, to put it for you in a way that you can understand. I'm very careful to always say in my communications that I want my lessons to be gentle and powerful. Many things that we can learn, quote unquote, the hard way, but that's not really necessary most of the time, maybe ever. So I try to keep that clear when I communicate with anybody in all of my prayers, all of the work that I do, the ceremonies, the things that I do in my communications. I always ask for that. So if I see a beautiful plant in that way, I will go and I will speak to the plant. I thank her for calling me. And I'll ask her if she has something for me, and I'll ask her to put it in a way that I can understand in a gentle and powerful way. I will also ask if she has something that she wants me to do for her. And I think offerings are a very, very important part of communication. We've known forever that people, all peoples have used offerings to communicate with the unseen. And they are very helpful and very powerful. An offering does two things. One, it acknowledges an exchange of energy. A very important concept. And it should, when we understand that correctly, that means that that's a very humble experience, that we're understanding that we're sharing with someone who is not inferior to us. And then the other aspect of an offering is that if we use something from the seen world, and a substance, and it can be anything. It can be a hair, some saliva, a prayer, a song, cornmeal. Many things have been known to be useful. Pollen, cornmeal, tobacco, those are three famous ones that have been used since really the dawn of time. So an offering acknowledges an exchange of energy, and if we use a seen world offering, a substance, that also acknowledges that we are here in the seen world. Something that's very, very important, because we get the gift of being in this seen world, which is actually just as an illusion, just like everything else, just like the unseen. Yet the gift, the power of the seen world is that for us it seems very, very real. So we can feel pain, we can feel pleasure, we can feel avoidance, we can feel attraction, and those are very powerful. And that setting allows us to learn like nothing else. Very great gift to be here in the seen world. So our relationship to the unseen, we go to the unseen to bring power for our life here. So that we can walk. Probably the strongest two prayers that exist are a thank you prayer, to be thankful for what we have, and to ask for strength and courage to walk through our life in a strong way. And what this means is that we touch the unseen world, not to disappear, not to escape from what exists in our life, but to get power to walk through our life in a strong way. And it might be important to acknowledge also that we have no power. We only have access to power. So that's why communicating to the unseen gives us a relation to the unseen. The unseen will support us no matter what. Just like the plant people, if we absolutely treat them only as substance, they will still support us for our entire life. We'll feel an emptiness, an incompleteness, but we will be given a life. If we choose to have a conscious relation to the unseen, that brings us a fulfillment that is unavailable any other way. So we reach to the unseen to give our life more strength and more courage. And that's done in these very practical ways of communicating directly to the unseen. And again, I spoke, how does that work? Well, talk to the plants, talk to the unseen. Use a physical offering to acknowledge that you are of the seen world and that you know it, and to help you remember that. I tend to use tobacco frequently, though I use other things as well. Maybe 20 years ago or so, I didn't really have a very good understanding of tobacco and the power that plant can offer us. I only saw tobacco as something that maybe gave us lung cancer, and I didn't really like the smell of cigarettes.
Wow, that's true.
Yeah.
I totally forgot about that part.
Right. But then she came to me one time in a vision as a giant yellow and black snake, and she told me that one of her gifts to us is that she's an interpreter. So when I speak to the plants using some tobacco as an offering, they hear me more easily, and I hear them more easily in return. And if you think about the historical use of tobacco in something like a peace pipe, right, that the native, the Lakota and other tribes, but mostly the Lakota in this instance, had their chanupa, which was a medicine pipe. And this was often used to resolve differences between people. And it always had tobacco as part of the mix in that medicine pipe, which helps us hear each other more clearly, and hence able to resolve our differences. So when talking, remember that you as a human have the ability to speak to the unseen, and all you have to do is do that. Speak to the unseen. And some of the things that help that are the deliberateness and using offerings. Very, very helpful.
Beautiful. Yeah, absolutely. It's a totally different life when we start acknowledging that. And I just wish that our society would acknowledge more that part that we don't normally recognize. And talking about that, actually, something that I always like to cover in my shows is anything about extraterrestrial life and extra-dimensional. So I would like for you to share what is your perspective on star nations.
Well, I feel I get a lot of power of help from the star people, and by that may be different than some other interpretations. Yet many of these relatives help me with my medicine. The many of the animals, many of the plants, the stars as well. And if we look at some of the long historical communication with these relatives, it's very powerful. The Lakota believe that the evening star Wokpe was where Patasawi, the white buffalo calf woman, came from. She's the one who brought the Lakota these ceremonies. The Navajo, I work frequently with a Navajo medicine man, and the Navajo use crystals as part, and some of their ceremonies, some of their powerful ceremonies, use crystals for healing, and those crystals also came from that particular star, and the healing powers of those crystals come from their connection to this particular star, and there's many of them there. My medicines, the medicines that choose to work with me, are sometimes very specific and sometimes more diffused, and these particular stars, very, very powerful and meaningful. Again, everything is alive, and many of them inhabit realms that we can't can't access with our linear mind. Very, very important thing to understand, the concept of mystery, the great incomprehensible. We're not supposed to be able to take this stuff apart and understand it with our linear mind. If we try, that will give us failure. We'll be unable to establish a relationship with the unseen. The mind is a very, very, very valuable and very important part of what we have. But if we utilize it in the wrong way, it causes us to lose connection with the unseen. The Buddhists said the mind is your enemy, or an interpretation of what they said. It's important to understand that the mind is not our enemy. It's a very, very useful part of the gifts that we carry. But when we use it in the wrong way, for example, to try to analyze the unseen, then it becomes something that is in our way and blocks us from having this relationship which we are born to have. And I also wanted to just share a little more of some of the things that a person can do to have consistent connection with the unseen. One of the very most important foundations, and I said this earlier, is to have a conscious connection with the seen or the unseen world. Means that we must do something in the seen to have that connection. Smoke that chanupa, give the tobacco, offer food offerings, greet the sun, acknowledge the sun when the sun leaves, offer offerings when we see relatives. We're at an interesting time where we have available to us ways from many, many, many different cultures. And all of these paths lead the same way. We can make the mistake of jumping from path to path, so we only go sideways and we don't ascend on those paths. Yet we have available to us many, many, many systems for connecting with the unseen. Use some of them. They're endless. So if I forget 5 of the things that I do in a day to connect with the unseen, I still have 10 more that I do every day. And because I do a lot of ceremony, that's part of what someone does who works with ceremony all the time, is it's our connection to the unseen. And the only way that we have that is by deliberately connecting. And it's very important to realize, to invite people to realize that everyone has the ability to connect with the unseen. It's not reserved for certain people at all. Some may have certain gifts, but we all have gifts. And remember that you're capable, not capable, given what is required to connect with the unseen. It's what we do. It's like breathing if you want it.
Right. Beautiful. Thank you for sharing. And when you talk about all of this and also the Lakota tradition, it reminds me the only sweat lodge that I attended that was with you in the Lakota tradition, and I have such a good memory from that day. It was so special, and it was such an honor to be there. So I really enjoyed it, and I feel that little by little we are going to really incorporate all these beautiful, beautiful things more in our lives, even if we are busy with our daily jobs or anything. But I feel we need to create a space for this. So.
And I think it's one of the missing parts in many people's lives. And if we look around, boy, that is changing very quickly, very quickly. We're at a time where many things are changing again for us. I mean, part of the definition of being here is change. Yet culturally, things are changing dramatically, and I feel very, very glad to be here at this magical time, and very hopeful that there's a lot of concern by many people that we're just not doing things well, and maybe some of that is true. I'm sure it is, by my perspective. Yet at the same time, so much is changing and so much is being offered, And probably the most important thing that we can do as individuals is to live well. And really what we're here to do is be good relatives, and to learn to be better relatives. And that means to the sky, to the dust, to the wind, to the clouds, to the hawks, to the birds, to the water. And the most difficult, probably, is to be good relatives with each other. And what a great and amazing gift to get to walk for a little while here in this beautiful, beautiful plain that we have. I wanted to also just let people know that, again, they can buy some of these plants from me directly. They can get consultations from me. They can figure out when I'll be teaching classes and other gatherings that I might be at if they're interested in any of that. And that's available on my website, and that website is chanchka.com, CHANCHKA. And I feel kind of lucky. I have people who help me put together a website and allow people to connect with some of the stuff I'm up to. So feel free to check that out. You can get that DVD there as well. And you might have to wind your way around our lack of knowledge with the internet, but you'll eventually get what you need.
It looks pretty good. So once again, the website is chanchka.com, CHANCHKA.com. Thank you so much, Doug, for being here with us today and sharing your wisdom, your knowledge, and I really appreciate that you are here in our show. Thank you so much.
Yes, Victoria, thank you, and really appreciate you taking the time to have me on your show. So look forward to talking to you again.
Yes, me too. Okay, well, bye, Doug, and for our listeners, I would like to share that if you are in Los Angeles or near Los Angeles, I will be teaching Reiki and crystal healing practice in just a few minutes, 30 minutes exactly. So just go to reikiwellbeing.org for details. And next Saturday, we have a very special show also, like every week. So we will have with us Dr. Lynn D. Kitai. So she will be sharing about the Phoenix Lights book and the internationally award-winning documentary project as well. All the archives of my shows, both in video and audio, as well as all the information about upcoming shows, are available at victoriavives.com/radio. So I will leave you now with the Enlightenment Evolution Network announcements. Okay, have a wonderful, wonderful weekend. Bye. Okay, and now, as you know, this is a network. It's the Enlightenment Evolution Network. So I'm going to just share with you the different shows that we have. On Mondays at 7:30 p.m. Pacific Time, we have Heart to Heart Talk Radio with Daniel Scranton. On Tuesday at 12 noon Pacific Time, we have Soulful Preneur with Rachel Arkelaus and Megan Crandall-Meyer. On Wednesday at 6 p.m. Pacific Time, we have the Enlightenment Evolution Hour with Rob Gauthier, the creator of the Enlightenment Evolution Network. On Thursday at 6 p.m. Pacific Time, we have Consciousness Evolution Hour with Philip Monica. On Fridays at 6 p.m. Pacific Time, Pierre's Experience with Talina Angel. On Saturdays, like today, at 10 a.m. Pacific Time, is Earth Sky People Radio with yours truly, Victoria Vives Khuong. On Sundays at 11 a.m. Pacific Time, About Oneness with Karen Newman. And finally, Sunday at 1 p.m. Pacific Time, we will have very soon the Resonance Intention with Soul and Neil Gaur. Okay, bye for now.
You are listening to the Enlightenment Evolution Network. Welcome to Earth Sky People Radio. Living in harmony with Mother Earth and awakening to an intergalactic society. With your host, Victoria Vives. founder of Reiki Wellbeing and co-founder of the Earth Sky People Movement.